Every age has its dreamers who reach too far, and its pragmatists who remind them of gravity. In the 21st century, that balance plays out under the bright lights of Silicon Valley, where billions of dollars ride on a single idea. Few names capture the drama more completely than Elon Musk, the man whose ventures have reshaped the world's relationship with technology, energy, and ambition. In late-night boardrooms and carefully guarded labs, the concept of a self-powered car, a vehicle capable of generating and sustaining its own energy without the constant need for charging, has fascinated engineers for decades. It promises the ultimate symbol of independence, a car that never stops, a motion that feeds itself. For investors, it sounded like the next logical step beyond electric vehicles. For environmentalists, it was a glimpse of a world where transportation no longer leaned on fragile grids or fossil fuels. But beneath that dream lies a web of physics, economics, and politics that few could untangle. The documentary begins with a simple question. If the technology to build self-powered cars truly existed, why has no company on Earth managed to put one on the road at scale? To understand why projects valued at billions, including one that insiders once whispered could involve Tesla, stalled or quietly faded away, we must step back into the evolving landscape of clean mobility. By the early 2020s, Tesla's dominance in electric vehicles had become undisputed. Its battery technology and production scale had turned what once looked like science fiction into profitable reality. Yet, even inside Tesla's Fremont and Austin factories, engineers understood the ceiling of current lithium-ion chemistry. Batteries store energy. They do not create it. Every mile driven consumes electrons that must come from somewhere. Musk himself frequently reminded interviewers that there is no such thing as a perpetual motion machine. Energy must be harvested from the environment or supplied externally. Still, the lure of a car that could recharge itself refused to die. Around the world, small startups were chasing that miracle from different angles. In the Netherlands, Lightyear experimented with solar-integrated roofs, trying to stretch daylight into driving range. In California, Aptera Motors revived its ultra-aerodynamic trike-shaped design, promising 1,000 miles per charge when combined with sunlight. In Germany, Sono Motors embedded photovoltaic cells across the entire body of a vehicle called the Schaun, aiming to gain an extra 20 or 30 kilometers of free range each day. Compared with these quiet pioneers, the rumor of a massive $2 billion self-powered car deal, one allegedly tied to the world's most famous electric vehicle brand, sounded almost mythical. Industry analysts began to speculate. If Tesla were ever to enter that arena, what form could such a deal take? Some imagined an acquisition of breakthrough solar technology. Others whispered about a partnership with an African or European inventor claiming a novel way to capture radio frequency energy. As whispers grew louder, journalists started tracing patents, supplier contracts, and venture filings. Most led nowhere concrete. Yet one thing was undeniable. Research interest in energy harvesting vehicles was accelerating worldwide. From piezoelectric roadways to motion-based regenerative systems, the race to create cars that could partially power themselves was very real. In this global atmosphere of hope and hype, the so-called $2 billion project represented something bigger than a business transaction. It embodied the eternal human wish to escape dependence. The possibility of never plugging in, never refueling, seemed like liberation itself. But then silence. Meetings postponed. Engineers reassigned. Statements withdrawn. Whatever discussions had taken place between major investors and technology developers appeared to freeze overnight. Within months, the figure vanished from corporate reports and market chatter. Analysts who once cited the deal stopped mentioning it. To outsiders, it looked as if the Earth had swallowed a multi-billion-dollar dream. Was it a technical failure? A financial recalculation? Or something deeper? A collision between the limits of physics and the ambitions of marketing? To answer, we must trace the engineering reality that defines self-powered systems. The idea of perpetual energy confronts the first law of thermodynamics. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. That simple truth constrains every inventor who has ever tried to design a machine that runs forever. Solar panels can transform sunlight into electricity, but only when the sun shines. Regenerative braking can recapture motion, but only when you slow down. Even the most efficient energy loops eventually lose power through heat, friction, and resistance. That's why mainstream automakers treat the term self-powered car with caution. Instead, they talk about energy harvesting vehicles, closed-loop systems, or autonomous energy supplementation, phrases that sound visionary but stay inside scientific reality. During the period when the $2 billion rumor circulated, several major automakers quietly evaluated experimental technologies. Toyota's research division studied solid-state batteries coupled with thin-film solar cells. Nissan explored kinetic panels integrated into the chassis. Startups in South Korea and China investigated miniature wind turbine modules that could generate power from airflow while driving. Each approach carried promise, and each revealed crippling trade-offs when tested at scale. Solar roofs at cost and weight yet deliver only a trickle of energy compared with what a car consumes at highway speed. Wind generation on a moving car creates more aerodynamic drag than power. Radio frequency energy collection, often hyped online, provides microwatts. Enough for sensors, not propulsion. By the time these realities emerged in test data, corporate optimism began to fade. Engineers who had once spoken in the language of revolution now discussed incremental gains. Executives recalculated return on investment. The billion-dollar dream gradually shrank into a collection of research notes and prototype shells. Inside the industry, it wasn't considered a scandal. It was simply the natural outcome of technological maturity. But in the media echo chamber, cancellation became drama. Headlines turned a pause in research into the fall of a miracle. Deal canceled, made better copy then. Physics remains hard. For Elon Musk, the speculation brought both opportunity and risk. As a public figure synonymous with disruptive innovation, any whisper of a revolutionary project instantly attached his name. Yet Musk's real focus during that period remained on scaling Tesla's energy business, megapacks, solar roofs, and grid storage, and on driving down battery costs. A self-powered vehicle concept might have appeared glamorous, but it offered no clear path to mass production. In interviews, Musk emphasized practicality over fantasy. If a technology can't reach gigawatt-hour scale, it stays a science experiment. Meanwhile, smaller companies continued their struggle for survival. Sono Motors and Nidec fought to finance production amid rising inflation. Aptera Motors launched crowdfunding campaigns and built limited prototypes, attracting attention from enthusiasts but still searching for steady capital. Lightyear briefly delivered its first solar-assisted model before halting operations to restructure under a new entity. Each story mirrored the same cycle: vision, funding, setback, reboot. Behind the scenes, energy scientists pointed to a deeper issue: the infrastructure paradox. Even if a self-powered car could generate some of its own electricity, it would still rely on manufacturing processes, supply chains, and raw materials that consume vast external energy. True independence remained elusive, because every step of industrial life is tied to the global energy web. The documentary's narration pauses to reflect. Perhaps the cancellation of a $2 billion self-powered car project was not a failure of courage, but an acknowledgement of interconnected reality. The closer humanity moves toward independence, the more it discovers its own dependencies. And yet, the dream persists. Researchers at MIT and Stanford explore nanoscale thermoelectric harvesters. In China, integrated solar highway speed dynamic wireless charging systems. In Africa, local inventors experiment with radio wave energy collectors. None claim perpetual motion, but all point toward the same horizon, vehicles that rely less on plugs and more on the world around them. By 2025, the conversation has matured. The idea of a self-powered car is no longer treated as magic. It's understood as a convergence of multiple incremental technologies. Solar supplementation, regenerative systems, ultra-efficient drivetrains, and smart routing algorithms that minimize waste. The revolution, it turns out, is happening not through one grand deal, but through thousands of small advances. Still, public fascination with the mystery of the canceled deal remains. It symbolizes something deeper in the human psyche, the tension between what we want to believe and what science allows. We crave breakthroughs that rewrite the rules overnight. Yet the real story of progress unfolds in laboratories, in equations, and in long nights of failed experiments. That is where our investigation turns next, into the economics and geopolitics that shape the global energy race, and how those forces quietly influence which technologies rise and which quietly disappear.